And during the few moments that we have left, we want to have just an off-the-cuff chat between you and me. Us. We want to talk right down to earth in a language that everybody here can easily understand.
All right, so I'm on my way to work again, but I want to do this video real quick because I know I've taken a hiatus and it's been a while since I've posted, but so much stuff has been going on that I really haven't had time to sit down and fledge out my thoughts. But I'm doing this video because I don't really think that kind of matters anymore when it comes to certain things. And what I mean, what I'm really getting at is this: I'm probably backlogged on, I don't know, easily 15 or 20 videos that I either have started, want to refine, have already done and just haven't posted, etc. and so forth. And it seems like every time I do a video on a heavy subject matter, I always second guess it in the sense of, okay, maybe I should do this instead. I should restate that point. I don't like my delivery method. You know, I just kind of edit myself. And then I'll go and listen to a lot of the people who I listen to on YouTube, like, you know, Sergeant Willie Pete, Yonks85, Chrissy, Sandman, Stephen Molyneux, Alex Jones, etc. And I'm just like, okay, they just covered what I covered a couple weeks ago, but in a better format. So I really don't need to make a video on it. I can just put the link in the description below or put the link on the Gen XY. And then it's like, well, no, because I should probably just do my version of what it says, even though I may agree. There may be a point or two that I don't agree on that I should probably address my grievances with, but I don't know. And I just feel like I wasted my time, or because I don't want to come on here and just repeat what everyone else is saying necessarily. You know, I do, you know, how to say this, I do want to talk on the same topic. So again, if I agree, I'm going to repeat what they say because I agree, but my reasons for agreement will differ, you know. So I'm gonna kind of just do a video, post it, it's out there, and leave it at that. And if it doesn't sound good or it comes off wrong, then like my thoughts on MGTOW video, I'll just post another video going into more detail. And even though that'll take more time, it's fine. But it'll just be what it is. And, you know, kind of going into some personal stuff here. I just had a very heated discussion and or argument with my personal friends about stuff going on in our nation. And let me say this. All of my friends, not all my friends, the friends who I have my deepest discussion with, minus like literally probably 2 people, maybe 3, are all white. And that's you're going to understand why I say that here in a second. But we got into a heated argument about cognitive dissonance and you know, kind of not really wanting to admit the severity of the situation. And a lot of things were said, and a lot of people said things that they probably didn't really think through. And, you know, apologies have been made and reconciliation and all that stuff. But the fact of the matter is that's what I run into when I when I discuss a lot of the topics that I feel need to be discussed and need to be fledged out. And it primarily falls under, it doesn't affect me, so I don't think it's important. Or I don't see why this is important because X, Y, and Z. And really X, Y, and Z is just, this doesn't affect me, this doesn't affect me, and this doesn't affect me, therefore why should I care? You know? Or it's I see how this affects me, it affects me tremendously and greatly, but it's so horrible that I don't even think that I should address it. Or should I say, not that. It affects me so much, but it's such a huge, mountain that if I just make it smaller in my mind, then that means it's not that big of a deal. But then by the time people get to that point, it goes back to, well, it's not that big of a deal. Why should I care? Let's move on. There's other matters to discuss. And the reason why I say that, remember the fact that, I'm talking about my white group of friends when it comes to the heaviest issues I talk about is the topic of race. Because a lot of, and Aaron from the co-writer on the Gen XY and I have talked about this a lot of what's going on now with the white community has been happening to the black community. I mean, it is hilarious watching, again, from a this has already happened to my community and I've already had to come to terms with a lot of stuff perspective. It is kind of hilarious watching white people get up in arms and freaking out and going through like this, mental, mind-blowing, topsy-turvy, trying to figure out what's going on in their community with all that's going on in our nation right now. And to see black people kind of just sort of like, it's just another day, and it's like, because I have, been raised in the black community and I have seen the admissions from our social controllers. I've seen the documents. I've seen the planned layouts and the effects and the drama that goes on between men, women, and children and teenagers and police and authorities with the black community, of all of the different levels of attacks that have happened to blacks from the white community. Or should I say, I can't say white community, the white oligarchs who use the white community to perpetuate all of this stuff. That's a more accurate way of what I meant to say. To see all that happen, and then to go to white people and say, look, this is what your oligarchs do. This is how they do it. Don't follow it. And to see them go, that's not happening. That's conspiracy theory. That's just black people complaining again. They're playing the race card. What systematic oppression? Blah 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 blah. And then now to see feminism separate their men and women together. Now it's now MGTOW's here. Now MRA is here. Now there's all these little social groups and I don't say community organizing, but everyone's gathering together in their little parts. Now that they don't have jobs, now that their communities are now looking more like the ghetto, now that, their children are acting belligerent and not listening to their parents, now, all the stuff that they, laughed at black people for, now it's happening to them. And now they're like, well, what do we do? Like, somebody do something. We need a new president. We need it's just like, but black people are just like, whatever, and I listen to all these black commenters on MGTOW and stuff like that online, and they're all like, let the white people figure it out. They left us out to dry. Let's, forget them. We're not going to help them try to work their problem out, and we're still going through it, and they denied us, they wouldn't help us for X amount of years, so why should we help them? And again, I've said this before, you don't want to let white people fall because they're the majority group, and when they're unhappy, everyone's unhappy because their infrastructure, again, based on rape and pillage, but it's still their infrastructure, is what everyone lives off of, So if white people go down, don't think that we're not going down. And we meaning the minority, whether you be black, Hispanic, Asian, Indian, whatever. Don't think that if white people go down, that we're not going to go down too. Again, you have to look at this country as a cruise ship. If there's rioting at the back of the ship, moving to the front of the ship is not going to protect you from what's going on. But anyway, not to get off in all that, but it's just there's too many people who don't think things out and won't address problems that need to be addressed. And that is a major issue that I run into. And the biggest thing is trying to give people information in a small amount of time. A lot of information in a small amount of time. And when you do that, you have to give them the biggest points. You have to give them the biggest overall concepts. And when you do that, people seem to not be able to handle it, and especially if they don't see how it affects them. And that is a mountain to overcome, because it has to do with mentality and mental state, and different people grasp onto different things, and there's lots of variables that you have to take into account. So how this kind of circles back to my main point is this. It's just, I know I have to spoon feed information, and I really just wanted to come on here. Like when I started these vlogs, I just wanted to come on, talk about an issue in depth, and leave it at that. Like that's why my first few videos are so long, is because I wanted to just go through, hit all the high points, blah, 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 and leave it at that. But in seeing the argument that my friends and I had last night, honestly, I can't say last night. It's been one of those on and off things. The most recent one was probably 2 days ago, and it's the same thing. It's some of them can handle certain things and some of them can't. And when the ones who can't handle certain things, when you bring up an overall point, they shut down. And then the argument switches from what the point you're trying to make to how you delivered it to, something else to something else to something else. And then it's like, okay, we didn't get anywhere. But it's very important that you know this, because this affects you this way. And, like you can't just go through like this toilet bowl of stuff. And like, it really makes you understand that you just have to spoon feed information to people. You really do. And it takes time, and it does take life changing or standard of living changing for people to get things. And while that's good on one hand, that's also bad on others, because as I forgot who, so I was listening to some political commentator a number of years ago, and they said, a lot of German people, because they were talking about World War II and the Holocaust, a lot of German people didn't want to believe that Hitler was a bad guy at first, because he did this, he did that, which really helped their class of people, but overall it ended up in their demise. And all while they were supporting Hitler, others were saying, hey, this guy's bad, he's not not doing what he says that he's actually doing, and we need to really watch this guy and or get rid of him. But because some people didn't want to believe it, they ignored it and kind of went on about their lives. But then when they got reported to the brown shirts and the secret police, and then they were put in trains to go to the concentration camps, now they wanted to fight. Now when they were being dragged out of their homes, now it was of utmost importance that they fought against Hitler and the regime. And it's like, well, it's too late by then. Like you should have been fighting against political oppression and political dissidents and whatever that week's criminal was. You should have been fighting against that earlier, when he was giving the speeches of we need to do this and we need to do that. You can't fight against it when you're in the back of the train car being offloaded in Auschwitz. And that's the unfortunate part about human nature, is that some people just won't preemptively prevent stuff. They have to have their world changed, and that's sad, because at that point it's too late. But I've just come to the realization that I'm going to have to spoon feed people information, and it's going to take time, and whether the people like it or not, it's going to have to happen. It's kind of like feeding a child vegetables. Like you want them to just eat it so they can go on about their day and they can go outside and play, but they don't want to. They just want to sit there and play with it and maybe eat a little bit here, a little bit there, and kind of just sit and diddle-daddle. But all that aside. So I'll just do videos as I do them. I know people will complain and moan and whine and talk about, well, you didn't say this right, and what about this, and blah, 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 blah. But it's just like, again, that's just the little kid inside us all. But, all right, that's my video. John from the Gen XY.